Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here. Right, Saturday the 1st of Feb. So, moving swiftly on from where we left off on the last video just published, then today we're going to focus on filling that gap there. So we've already done the first fit, so we know the gearbox will go together, but it was a bit tight. So what I'm doing first, what I have done first, is firstly just make sure that all the gears are in the right position according to the parts book page, which I'll find shortly. There it is. And also with respect to the end cover components to the inner cover. And what I've also done is with respect to the main shaft bearing, I've got the main shaft out at the moment because I wanted to test fit this bearing, which is a tight fit on the shaft, but it does tap down fully home onto the shaft. But we can't put the gearbox together with that bearing in place because it sits against a flange on the inner cover, just there. So we have to put the cover on before we put the bearing in. So I'm just about to use the puller to get that bearing off, and then we'll do a test fit of the lay shaft and main shaft in the box. Okay, bearing came off pretty quickly with the 3-leg puller, and there's the full set of clusters together on the main shaft and the lay shaft. This is the final drive end. That thrust washer goes on the other end of the lay shaft. Sorry, it goes on this end of the lay shaft because that goes into the gearbox because we haven't fitted it yet. On the other end, the bearing's already fitted there, look. So, right, we'll do a bit of fitting up now. There's the cam plate, and we'll make sure that as we're fitting this in, that we make sure the gears are in the right position for neutral if we can. Bit of a fiddly job this. What we've got to do is we've got to put this, well, let me show you. We've got to put the cam plate in first, because on this the cam plate goes in like so, and its spindle comes up through that hole, but we don't put the centering nut in until we've got the gearbox in, so that gives us plenty of play in the cam plate to move it around to locate the nibs on the selectors before we tighten everything up. And there they are, and they'll map into 3 positions on the slots. So I think we're all good to go. So let's put everything in and have a first test fit. Okay, we're on the gearbox again, and far end on the right you can see the bronze thrust bearings now installed. On the left we've got the gearbox, we've got the main shaft ball, above that the detente spring for the cam, and I've just seen that with respect to the mounting, the 2 mounting screws top right there, I just need to bend over those tabs before we then do a test fit of the clusters. Right, I just thought I'd deinstall it first because it's easier to start those little tabs off there before we reinstall it. So you can see this tab washer fits over the spring. 2 mounted bolts go through. The reason why there's a slight indentation on that and a 3rd hole there is that that's a pin, and this then ensures the pin doesn't come out, and 2, the pin ensures then that the spring stays in the correct position. So all belts and braces there to make sure that that doesn't move, because a lot of the time obviously it's going to be under tension once the cam plate's in. Okay, looks as though I've got the shakes, but there we are with the detent spring now installed with its washer and tabs bent over. So now we can get on with offering up the cam and the clusters. Okay, clusters and cam plate in, and see if we can get the light on there, but all the selector nibs engaged with the cam. What I've also done there is on the top there then is insert the retaining nut and sleeve for the cam spindle, and on top of that there's the circlip, and then there's a rubber seal that goes over that to keep rainwater etc. out. So those are the clusters in, and what I've done as a test is that the cam is in a position to select, I think, first gear, and I've just loosely put the final drive sprocket on this side, pushed it into the seal and done a turn on that, and the gearbox is turning. So the next proof of the pudding is going to be getting the gearbox inner cover on with the bearing, and this time the gasket, and once that's loosely installed we'll do another test. Right, this is the second test fit of the inner gearbox cover. The first one I did was without the 2 locating studs and pins, and I did find that the lay shaft needle roller bearing at this end was a little bit tight on the shaft, so I've just dressed the shaft lightly with emery and done a test fit, and that was fine, and the gearbox turned. So now we've got the locating studs in. I'm just about to take this off, put the gasket on, and we'll fit it. Okay, inner cover on, and obviously on its locating studs, but also there are 2 screws just for the inner cover, just to secure it in position. And then once the outer cover's on, all these outer screws, certainly along the top, and these 2 at the bottom, also hold the secure the inner cover further in. So that's on, and I've now also just installed the main shaft bearing, and the good news is that the gearbox is turning quite smoothly, a little stiff, but quite smoothly, even though it's dry. So that's great news. It really does feel quite nice. So very pleased with that. So next thing on this side is we now need to insert the, I don't know what the correct term is, the quadrant, I think it is, select quadrant. The select quadrant pivots here and is located in this slot here, and you can't quite see, but what it does is it engages, there they are, engages on the cam there by those teeth on the top. So we'll insert that next in the right position, knowing that this is currently in neutral. And then we can think about the outer cover with the kickstart mechanism, but that might just be for the next video. But anyway, let's get on with finishing the inner cover. Also, as you can see, oil level dipstick, and also with respect to the cam mounting spindle, then we've put the rubber seals on the top there, and that's to keep external gubbins out of that spindle, and it's effectively it's alley bearing. Right, let's get the selector quadrant next. Okay, there's the selector quadrant. Looks a bit grubby, but it is clean. There's its spindle, and that's just a little cap that sits on top of the spindle. And the reason for that is because, so the quadrant, let's do this live if you like. So the quadrant slots in here. Like so. And we need to engage it in the roughly in the right position for neutral. So that's the correct way around, because we need to push the quadrant at this end this way, which will push the cam clockwise for second, third, fourth, and anti-clock for first. That's right. And then the pin, this little fulcrum pin, is inserted from the top here, and you can see now why they put a little rubber cover cap on the top of this, and that's again to seal it on the top side. So a couple of interesting approaches with this motor with respect to all these gubbins on the top here that have to be sealed off from all the external elements. So anyway, let's fit that properly now. Once that pin is in, it does act as the fulcrum, in that you'll notice there's a hole in it, and there's a similar hole in the centre of the quadrant, and that's to allow you to put a split pin through it, and then this acts as your spindle. The quadrant doesn't turn on the spindle turns in the casting. Okay, quadrant in on its spindle all the way in. There is I forgot to point out that there is an O-ring on the top of that spindle to seal it, but then it has this little rubber cap of on the top as well, and you might not be able to see that too well, but actually it's probably a bit difficult to see, but just above the quadrant on its spindle, you can see the hole there is lined up, ready to accept the split pin, which I need to go and source, because I don't think I've got one the right diameter, and then that needs to be fairly snug. So we can't put the outer cover on yet, but we're all installed anyway, so that's good progress, and we'll probably leave that video there for now. So gearbox in, outer cover on and secure, a few other bits and pieces sorted out, final drive sprocket in, just need to tighten that and turn the tab over, and then we can actually fit the rear chain as well while the clutch inner cover is off on the other side. Let me just show you that, so we've got easy access. There we go, and there we go, and I can turn the gearbox by hand even though it's dry, so that's good. And I've just got to turn that tab over and make sure this is tight, and then while this inner cover is off, we'll get the rear chain on, and then we can attack the primary side, which is all ready to go. So yeah, things are moving along quickly now, which is good as time is marching on before the April Stafford deadline. So as I say, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for your interest, comments and subscriptions. And I'll see you again very, very soon when we'll attack the primary side in the next couple of days or so. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Cheers for now.